Well, good morning, Leah. How are you?
Good morning, Whitney. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really excited because Colin Loftus, who is a team member at GenUnity, nominated you for to be our next guest on the Member Stories podcast at GenUnity, and I'm really excited for this one. I've been excited for all of them, but your story is very unique, and so I'm really excited to converse with you and get to learn about you a little bit more because we haven't. I think this is the first time that we're meeting.
Yeah.
Even though we've been in a physical space together, like at kickoff or at celebration in some instances, because you do look really familiar. But I never worked with the housing justice cohorts before, um, so yeah, this is going to be really fun. But to everyone out there listening or watching, Leah Boutelle is our guest today, and she is a non-traditional thinker and storyteller who has experienced a remarkably wide range of life paths from circus performance and mural painting to activism, motherhood, public service, and national service. She dropped out at 16, traveled the country while homeless, and has continued to build her life through resilience, curiosity, and growth. And she is now headed to Harvard to do a master's in public administration, which is that's like, there's like so many curves going on in that
Yeah.
path, right? And I love that as well because my path is not similar in the things that you've done, but more of like, it's gone in different directions. Um, so yeah, I guess my first question for you is, when did you first realize your life wouldn't fit a traditional path?
Um, I so I can't pin it down into one moment. I think that from a very young age, I was ready to be different, and it was because I was recognized. I had adults in my life who recognized my curiosity and recognized that I would work hard and that like I saw things that were hard as a challenge and not as a setback.
Hmm.
And so I follow my passion and my experiences inform my intellectual pursuits, which informs my work, which then informs my experiences. So I kind of just have never subscribed to the notion that there is a path or like, you have to follow a formula or I kind of let life lead in a way or let life experiences lead in a way that allows me to explore things as I learn them and then change my trajectory to my whatever capacity I can. Um, I hope that doesn't sound too abstract.
No, I mean, I think so I guess my first question out of your responses, what did you find hard? What were the things that were challenging that you felt like, okay, I can do this?
Yeah, I think I grew up thinking that I wasn't a math student because all the women
Mhm.
around me were constantly saying like, "Ugh, I hated math. I was so bad at math," or like I would come
Hmm.
with a math problem, and so like for a long time I had this misconception that I wasn't a math student or like girls don't do math. And
Hmm.
then I had one geometry teacher that was like you have a good brain, you don't have a bad brain, you're just not trying. And I'm going to make you stay for every lunch until you get an A in this class.
Wow.
Because, and I feel like life in general has been these like these jewels of role models who have like seen something in me and invested in me and not let me kind of like fall by the wayside. And so a lot of my success is because someone decided like, I'm not going to let this kid's potential be wasted. And so I can't really say that, even though I have worked hard at things, I can't say that these things are, fully my own doing because it took someone being like, hey, you could do better, or like, hey, I believe in you.
Yeah.
I almost just said a swear, but I decided not to. Don't be a mess up, like
Yeah. Yeah.
don't do that. You're better than that. So, the geometry class one, I've had a few teachers along the way who are like,
Yeah.
you're way smarter than your grades are showing, or like you're way more capable than your grades are showing. So do better, you know?
That's really cool that they saw that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I didn't really have that in school in terms of having kind of mentors or teachers acknowledging that. So having that um, experience of teachers are huge, like they,
So huge. Yeah.
especially when you're younger. and you're navigating life, especially through high school or middle school. And was this in middle school or high school mainly?
This was in high school. I think so when I was in elementary school, some of the formative memories were like my first grade teacher, I remember my first grade teacher being in a conference with my mom, and she was like, she's brilliant. Like, there's no, and being told things like that very young, you start to believe them. And once you believe them, then I feel like you can actualize that. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I think the value of role models in my life has been so high, and just people who have been like, who have seen something special and said something like that to that effect, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And then how did that make you feel? Like,
I had
how
no
did that,
idea what she meant when I was in
yeah.
first grade, but I remember
Yeah.
like looking back on it and being like, wow, in first grade, I was like, I picked up reading fast, or like I was reading Charlotte's Web by like second grade, like of my
Mhm.
own accord, like chapter books, and no one, like in my home, no one ever told me like you're going to college. Like no one ever, I grew up working class. My mom was in hospice. She was a hospice assistant, and my dad was like a jack of all trades, like contractor. And like my family viewed college as like a way to get into debt and not like a way to
Mhm.
like pursue your goals. And so like for a very long time, I was like, I don't know, like I kind of went back and forth between like school says I should go to college. My family doesn't really. So like
Yeah.
what do I do with that, Um,
Right.
so so yeah, that kind of is a segue, but I think the moral of the story is like teachers and like community members seeing something and then acknowledging it and like not and like saying something about it. It's so important to recognize, especially the young people around you, and to
Hmm.
encourage them and tell them what they're doing right, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
how hard they're working or whatever it is. It's so important to pour into our young people.
Right. No, it is. It's
Yeah.
extremely important.
Mm.
And so yeah, at 16, you started kind of just going on your own way or going in your own way. And so what prompted that?
Yeah, I had a pretty um so I moved out actually when I was 11 and moved in with my older sisters. I'm the youngest of four. I have two older sisters. My oldest sister is 16 years older than me. I'm the
Okay.
youngest, and then my brother is 2 years older. So it's 2 years older, 8 years older is my second sister, and then 16. And so when I was 11, I moved in with my two older sisters because I was living in an abusive home and I was done. And I was like, Mom, if you want to stay, you can stay, but I'm not. So I left. And a year later, my mom followed me, but I I had like a lot of confusion and a very tumultuous 5 years. I was
Mm-hmm.
constantly getting in trouble. I was slacking off in school. I was taking a lot of risks that were super unhealthy with boys, with drugs. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was not supervised because my mom decided to go to community college in her 50s, and
Hmm.
um, she worked also full time. So like I don't even have memories of like eating dinner. Like I don't remember a lot from that time period, but at
Hmm.
16, I was just like, I hate school. I hate this area. My dad passed away, and I was just
Hmm.
like, there's nothing keeping me here. So I just left. I left. I went to New York City with $200 in my pocket.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was insanity. But I met like some really cool people, and I was lucky to have gone during a time that like there is still a really strong counterculture, like punk rock counterculture, and I kind of
Mhm.
found family with them. And so then I just traveled the country for like the next 8 years. I was just between New York and the West Coast and performing, and I did some work with the ACLU, and I was like, this is great. Like I'm not being told what to think. I'm like
Yeah.
valued for having independent thoughts, and I'm valued for being expressive, and I'm valued for, having a mind of my own and not like accepting the status quo, I guess. So
Hmm.
those years were, really formative and amazing as well. And I feel like cathartic after the younger
Hmm.
years that I had.
Yeah. So what is ACLU?
ACLU,
ACLU.
yeah, the American Civil Liberties Union. So
Oh, okay.
After 9/11, the Patriot Act was like a major act that infringed on privacy for a lot of all Americans in the name of, defending the country against domestic terrorism. And now anyone can be a domestic terrorist. You can literally like, say F the government and you're like a
Right.
domestic terrorist.
Right.
So, so when that first came out, I was like, what is this? BS. Like,
Yeah.
what? And so, because I was kind of already in this like counterculture activist scene, I was like, who's actually doing something about this? Like, we can protest, we can do murals, but like, yeah, maybe it sways the public opinion, but since we're on the fringes, it's not really accomplishing much, is it? Not in the
Mm,
meantime, like when you're on the fringes, you can sort of like add a little bit of weight to a movement. But unless you're like, you got lawyers, you got money, you have politicians, like you're still just on the fringes saying you don't like something, which, as we know, doesn't fully back a movement, right?
right.
So I found ACLU and I started doing street campaigning with them. And I was a street leader in Oregon and New York.
Cool. And that was during your teen years or during,
I found them when I was 18 because I couldn't work for them under that time. And
okay.
before that, I was like working at restaurants and stuff, whatever I could
Mhm.
find.
Yeah.
Tattoo shops, super seedy. I don't recommend it. Tattoo shops in the thousands,
Yeah.
New York City. I've
Or
made
is
a
that in
lot of
like in the
friends
East
there.
Village?
Huh?
Was that in the East Village or something?
I did in the West Village.
The West
So,
Village.
yeah, yeah, right next to
Yes.
West 6th. So, oh my gosh, I can't even remember the name of the train. I remember the color. It was the BDFV train. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Are
I
you
was thinking of
familiar with
State
New
Mart.
York?
Yeah, I was born there and I went to school there. So,
Okay,
so yeah, I
cool.
feel like a New Yorker at heart, to be honest.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I have a
So
few
I
friends that
know it
went to
very well.
City as school. Are you familiar with
Okay.
that?
No, I'm not. I went to the new school. So
Okay,
I was
cool.
in the West Village or like, that area for a while, but I grew up in Astoria when I was
Oh,
a child.
nice.
Mhm. Yeah.
They have birds there. It's not like some, right? No, like
Yeah.
birds, like actual trees and birds. So
I
I
love
live,
Queens. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
so the two places that I lived when I was there was 1501 Broadway off the J line in Bushwick. And then,
Wow.
yeah, I lived on 119th Street in Lenox in Harlem.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like when we were living there, we were the only punk kids on the block. Like, we were the only white kids covered in tattoos, but we got sandwiches on
Mhm.
credit too. So like nobody
Yeah.
cared. Like we were all just like part of the neighborhood. We were kind
Yeah.
of there like punk rock pets. Like they were like, oh, here's like our token, like crust punk kids. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
My friend Heather Holiday grew up in New York and went to City High School, and she still performs at Coney Island. I know, I don't expect you to know, but like these are like New York natives kind of. But yeah, Astoria is nice. I felt like it was nice when I went there. It was like
It is nice.
you can
It
hear
is.
birds.
Yeah, you can see the stars maybe. Yeah, no,
Yeah, yeah.
I get what you mean. Yeah, my childhood there was very special. I have like very distinct memories being in Astoria. It's
Mhm.
changed a lot, which is, obviously part of, gentrification and the aging of cities, um but yeah, it's a special place. But what is what is city what did you say it was? City?
City as school. So
Oh,
in New
okay.
York, they have cool things like trade schools where instead of doing like trade 1 week, then academics 1 week, you can do a
Uh-huh.
whole semester at an employer. So like
Okay.
they do 3 semester and two of them were academic and one of them was at an employer. And my friend interned at the Coney Island Freak Show and she became a sword
Wow.
swallower. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah. And then I have another friend who interned at a screen printer and like started her own screen printing shop.
Okay.
Less famous, but she's definitely still she's doing it. She's in
Yeah.
Brooklyn with her own
Yeah.
little like boutique screen printing shop where all the hipsters get their stuff done. So
Yeah. That's super cool. Yeah, I can't
yeah.
imagine Bushwick or the East Village, not the East Village, sorry, like East Harlem during that time.
I mean,
I
I
mean
loved
Bushwick is so
it.
different now, but yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I never like I grew up in a gateway city in Mass, so it was
Okay.
kind of like moving to the bigger version of that. It was like Alice in
Wow.
Wonderland. Like I had
Yeah.
taken the bite of the cookie, and I was really small, and it was like the same world,
Yeah.
just huge, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, of
Um,
course.
so yeah, I loved it, and I found so much belonging there, and I never felt unsafe or like I was ever in like a high profile area or
Yeah.
anything like that. And I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, I loved it.
So like I'm noticing like your friends were part of, or it kind of led them, would you say that they did circus performance as well? Um,
Yeah,
you
so
can,
we what we did is considered circus sideshow. So
okay.
um I had like some dance background, so I could do some like more athletic acrobatic stuff, but it's not traditional circus. It's circus
Okay.
sideshow. So it's like sword swallowing and fire breathing and walking on beds of nails and
Wow.
walking on glass and stuff like that. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
And how did you get started with that? Like you were just like, I'm just gonna try it and see how it goes, or
So I had a friend in my hometown who had done what I did, but 2 years earlier because he was 2 years older than me. And he was like, if you go there, like go to St. Mark's. Like it's
yeah.
so funny that you know that you mentioned St. Mark's and there was a specific
Hmm.
churchyard that you could go to. And
Hmm.
like people were sleeping outside and he was like, go make friends down there. And
Hmm.
I ended up meeting a boy and
Hmm.
then we all like all these kids like got an apartment together because a few of them were like New York natives and had rich parents, so they had a co-signer. So then we were all paying
Wow.
like $400 a month for a room
Wow.
because there
Yeah.
was like 12 of us living in a four-bedroom apartment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That sounds fun
So
though.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
wild. It was insane. There was like a shanty town in the living room. It was like
Yeah.
it was wild.
Yeah.
But it was it was freedom, you know? Like
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so cool. So let's say how many years ago was this? Like
Oh
how many
God, a
decades?
million. I'm 37 now, so 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So like that person you were 20 years
Oh
ago
my God.
in
I would
terms of
not want to
like
hang out with her. I would not invite her to my house.
no, oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
How like how what would she think about you being in this present moment and where you are currently?
I wouldn't believe it.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't believe it. I think that, so when I was 20, okay. So I traveled for a long time and then I moved back home because I ended up like almost dying. This is a whole different story, but I moved back home because I needed medical care and I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
access it where I was.
Hmm.
Um, so I came back home and I asked my sister and my mom to help me. And so I recovered within like 2 months. And
Hmm.
then when I was home, I was like, okay, this is a different place now. Like, this is not the same prison that it was, when
Hmm.
I was 15 years old, confused as all hell, being told, like, never told I did anything right by my own family. You know what I mean? And then, like,
Yeah.
school role models there were very few that, like, advocated for me at that point. So I was like, all right, well, I can't do anything right here. So I'm gonna leave. So then when I came back home, I was like, okay, I'm not the same person. This is not the same anymore. I'm gonna try. So I went back to school. I got pregnant 9 months later.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of people were like, well, like, you're not even like with the dad. Like, what are you gonna do? I was
Hmm.
like, I'm having this baby. I'm gonna be a mom.
Hmm.
And I mean, my daughter like totally changed who I was because then I had to be responsible and
Yeah.
I had to take care of my body and I had to like be stable. And so I quit everything. I didn't drink
Hmm.
anymore. I didn't smoke anymore. I got a job as a cook. I then started tutoring at my college. I immediately had like an affinity for English. So I had a really hard professor and I got an A in his class. And so I got into the tutoring program like right away.
Wow.
And so yeah, I remember telling this woman too, the one that ran the center. She was like, well, how long have you been here? And I was like, 2 semesters. She's like, what classes have you taken? I was like, English 101 and 102. And she's like, with who? And I was like, Professor Harris. She's like, what did you get? And I was like, I aced them. She was like, okay. This professor, the first day of class, drew a door on the board.
Uh-huh.
And then above it, he wrote missed assignments. And he was like, don't open that door. Do you want to know what's on the other side of the door? It's an F. Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, that's so effective, for
Yeah.
me, for
Yeah.
me. So yeah, my daughter changed my life
Hmm.
completely. And now I have two more. I, and now that I'm going to Harvard, so I don't know. There's so many twists and turns in there. I don't know where you want me to start, really.
That's okay. I mean, it doesn't, you don't, in terms of where to start, I guess my question was is just to, so where are you from in Massachusetts?
I'm from South Central, so like Southbridge, Mass, which is like a
Okay.
mini Worcester, which is like a mini Brooklyn, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so from there, I guess, what has been your relationship since moving back from New York and then having kids and being a mother and like
yeah,
what has, because it's changed from when you were in, when you were in high school or when you were in middle school or just basically, growing up and then you traveled a lot and then you're back. And
yeah.
so like how has it been since being back and this whole new different, with those twists and turns, like where
Oh,
are
I
you now
left
with that
Southbridge as
relationship?
soon as I could after I got pregnant. So when I was
Okay.
pregnant, I was living in Worcester. And
Hmm.
Worcester is it's economically depressed and, like it's a really strange geography. Whereas like
Hmm.
you can be on a really safe street and then you can be on a really dangerous street and they're right next to each other. And it's like that throughout the whole city. And
Yeah.
so like, and I was born there. But as soon as I could, I left. And then after I finished community college in Worcester, I moved to Amherst. So I never actually went back to Southbridge for very long.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Southbridge, like my friends that I grew up with are either dead,
Oh wow.
chronic drug users, or alcoholics, or they're sober and they got their shit together.
Yeah.
There's like really no other option.
Yeah.
Jail, like it's
Yeah.
like I buried so many friends in my 20s. It was
Wow.
yeah, in my teens too. But it's like the type of town that you go to that you're like, wow, like there's a chronic system of oppression here and nobody's making it out. Like the high school is so bad. The teachers cannot get through to the kids. The parents cannot get meaningful work. So it's just like these generations and cycles of sadness. It's so sad. And so everyone drinks, everyone does drugs. The kids are bad. And like when I was younger, it was stabbings and like getting killed with a bat. Like now they're like carrying guns and stuff. It's crazy. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
like, I would never move back there. I would never move
Yeah.
back there. Yeah.
So like what I don't know. So I live in Rhode Island. And
Okay.
so it's so interesting because Massachusetts is right next door, but it feels
Yeah.
like a foreign place to me sometimes
Yeah.
as well in terms
Yeah.
of just like even geographically, the different town cities and even politically, right? So what's going on in that town where
Yeah.
things are being manifested?
Yeah, so the history of a lot of towns in Massachusetts is that like there used to be a mill or some type of factory that was super prosperous and employed everyone in the town. And once that left, there was nothing. And so um, like in Mass, we call them mill towns. Like Springfield is one. Springfield is a notorious one. If you know anything about any
I've
of the
heard
cities
about
in
it.
Mass, of course,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like super prosperous, probably a paper mill, some kind of something in like the early I don't know, I'm gonna like guess on decades and stuff, but like 1800s and then like 1900s, early 1900s, and then in like the 40s, 50s, 60s, it dies down. And then, the information era takes over and like these mills are not as prominent and businesses move elsewhere. So that thing that was a mill that employed like my aunt and my actually two of my aunts and like my grandfather and all these generations of people now that it's not there.
Yeah.
take this giant business out. There's no economy. People are poor.
Mm.
Um, and so there's no like real good transportation system. There's a hospital, but it's got a really bad reputation. Um,
Okay.
the schools are underfunded because there's no tax to fund them because people don't make enough money. The welfare office lives there. There's more liquor stores than there is grocery stores. It's like it's like a very typical economically destitute town, and because it's cheap to live there, people who are coming to the country new, and like in Massachusetts and in New York too, we have a really big diaspora with Puerto Rico, and that has a lot of history too, right? So, and like less so here on the East Coast with Mexico, that's more West Coast thing. But we do
Hmm.
have some of that too. But really over here it's island. So it's like Dominican,
Hmm.
Puerto Rican, Trinidadian. There's like, there's just there's so then when people come here and it's like more affordable to live, but then they're seeing that like it's so hard to like get work to actually like economic mobility is kind of a myth, right?
Right.
Like if you really look at the numbers, it's kind of a myth. Like our wealth gap is insane. And this actually brings me to why I'm going into policy because I think that
Hmm.
the the commoditization of labor is what's driving the wealth gap in America. You
Hmm.
can have workers who are like I am a Marxist, I'll say that 100% through and through and through and through. That,
Hmm.
and I don't care what red list I end up on because of it, because I believe
Hmm.
in that. I believe that labor should be paid the value of the labor that
Hmm.
and like the proportion of commitment that they're putting into profits that are generated by a company. So
Hmm.
like you have decision makers, right? But then you have people that are actually on the ground doing the work, and without them, nothing happens.
Yeah.
So how does that work, right? And so in Southbridge, it's a lot of that. It's a people on the ground doing the work, or they can't find work because there isn't any. So
Right.
it's like if you can't find work because there isn't any, or there isn't transportation, you go and get whatever assistance you can if you're even eligible, because if you're not a citizen, you're not eligible. And if you
Mm.
don't, then you find alternative economies, and a lot of those alternative economies bring a lot of risk, you know? And
Mm.
if you're like not even able to barely pay your rent, how are you going to be there for your kids and support them with their
Right.
education? So it's like this story that we know very, very well, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not a unique case, but that is a lot of the mill towns in Massachusetts are like
Interesting. And so, what is your vision? So, how long is this
that.
program? Is it a year or 2 years for the master's
It's a
or?
year if you can afford to go full time, but I'm trying to get a
Yeah.
job there to pay for my tuition. So,
There we go. I love that. Yeah,
yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So, a
Um,
big shout out if you ever get accepted to Harvard and you join the Harvard Union of Clerical and Technical Workers, which is salary grade 54 and below,
uh-huh.
then you can, after 90 days, get a 90% discount on your tuition to Harvard, y'all. Get
That's
accepted, then get a
amazing.
job there. That's the
Yeah,
plan.
I love that. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
that's
course.
super
Yeah.
cool.
I'm happy to
Um,
plug anytime.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so 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 basically like where you grew up kind of inspired where you are now.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And
Yeah,
that's what I was saying
that's really
earlier,
cool.
that my experiences inform my intellectual pursuits and inform where I go in life.
Right,
I
right.
see a
Yeah.
problem, try to figure out how I can contribute, like with whatever skill set I have at the time. Before it was spray
Yeah.
painting walls and like being a crazy person. And now
Mm.
I think that I've built enough of a foundation and a professional career, an academic career, that people will actually listen to me if I come into a room and say things like this.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So what is your vision? So you're doing this program for 2 years or for 2 years, and then so you might not have a vision now or you might not know. This is just your
Oh,
step,
long
right?
game, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
president. Yeah, long game, long game. Like,
Yes.
like
Yes.
70s maybe. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whenever everybody else like starts running, right? You have to have like a
Yeah.
pretty solid track record to get up there. And I
Cool.
also
So
have to convince a lot of people with money that what I'm saying is the right way. So,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So getting into politics, basically.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think I want to cut my teeth on the Boston Planning Department.
Okay.
Um, I I have like a lot of I was in the housing justice cohort, so
Hmm.
I do very heavily believe that housing as a fundamental need is the basis for all other things. And if you don't have access to affordable, quality, and fair housing, then you cannot do anything else. How can you take a shower to get a job? You know,
Right.
it's like very basic, like practical wisdom. Like,
Right.
come on, people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'd like to start there
Hmm.
if I can get my way in there. Um,
Hmm.
and I think that I'm really interested in cross-sector partnerships. So
Hmm.
I'm really interested in using academic research to find persuasive ways to involve the private sector with becoming more responsible. So
Okay.
if you say partner a university, let's say like Northeastern or Harvard, right? And you
Hmm.
say, I want to do a study on the actual amount of wealth that this development agency has access to, and the amount of wealth that all of the employers in this area have access to. And I want to see how we can reconfigure both rents and wages to make it so that we can reduce safety net usage. So, like, how can you synergize those things? And then, how, like, surveying these private entities to see how can you make collective well-being as attractive as profit? How can you make that a benefit that parallels profit so that you can convince these people that this is a worthwhile investment? They have to see the impact of that. Okay, so like for example, you lose all this profit because you're reducing rent and um, you're losing out on that rent income, whatever. And then these employers are losing all this profit because they're raising wages, right?
Yeah.
But then you see an increase in retention, an increase in creativity. You see an increase in talent capacity. You see on the housing side, less need to repair for damages, less need to replace staff, less need to whatever the benefits are. I haven't done the study. That's why I'm tapping Harvard. I'm like, I'm going to convince someone
Yeah.
this is a good idea.
Yeah.
Just has to be the right person. But yeah, and then all of that could be accompanied with tax reductions for these companies because we all know that they're paying taxes that they don't want to pay, and that the
Hmm.
government, if they can prove that, okay, there are these benefits, but then we will also, you know, do whatever damage control we can to your bottom line as well.
Hmm.
You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So like the
Yeah.
profit benefits as well as that. So so I think that throughout life I've discovered that honey works better than vinegar. And
Hmm.
so, appealing to the ethos of a company that's been how long has humanity valued profit over well-being?
Right.
Forever.
Right.
Literally
Hmm.
forever. It's just gotten worse because I don't know if it's gotten worse. We just have more people now. So I don't know. But it's a different context, definitely. So we have to see creative ways that we can communicate mutual benefit to make these things happen.
Yeah. I really like that. I haven't heard that before. And so it makes
You can
sense
steal
to
my
me.
idea.
Yeah.
No, you can steal it. You can steal it. It's a good idea. Freedom of information.
I won't steal it. I won't steal it. Um, but yeah, no, that's like I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see, how this really manifests and fruitions for you. And it sounds like you really have the energy and the passion and also the intelligence, right, to really make this happen.
Yeah,
And so
you
that's
can
really
hope.
cool. Yeah, no, of
Thank you.
course. That's super cool. And so I'm just gonna connect GenUnity here. So because you did mention the housing justice cohort.
Yeah.
So how did you connect with GenUnity? And then how has it impacted the work that you're doing or the work that you're passionate about?
Yeah. So I had an amazing vice president in my last company, Campus Compact. His name is Matthew Farley. Just like the definition of a servant leader.
Hmm.
Never have I ever had a boss who said like he would flip me my paycheck because the paycheck system messed up and I had direct deposit bills coming out. Yeah, this is the
Hmm.
type of person I'm talking about, right?
Hmm.
So just like such a role model. And I had mentorship one-on-ones with him. He was not obligated to, but I fully believe in creating relationships and connections everywhere I go because that's where the
Yeah.
true wealth is, right? Like
Yeah.
wealth of knowledge. Like I like to draw on people who have accomplished things because then you can learn from them
Hmm.
and try to imitate it in whatever way. And so I used to meet with him every so often, and he was like, I would just like, kind of do the same thing I'm doing with you. It was like idea diarrhea.
Yeah.
And he would be like, it sounds like you're really into like basic needs, like housing and stuff like that. I
Hmm.
know this really cool organization. You should check it out.
Hmm.
And GenUnity was one of them. And so I looked into it and I was like, oh wow, like I'm gonna try to do this. And then I applied. They wanted me to come. So the first round that I was actually eligible to participate in, I couldn't because the paperwork that they needed for the grant, for the workforce reimbursement grant or whatever that you can do, we didn't have it. So my
Mm.
director, Lindsay Revisa, was like on people until they got it. Like it was
Wow.
really, this is another situation, right? Where like if I
Yeah.
didn't have the support of people who believed in me, this would have never
Right.
happened.
Yeah.
So, and so they, yeah, they did the workforce reimbursement grant for me to go. And
Hmm.
because the organization Campus Compact that I was working with, I served with them for 3 years in AmeriCorps as a VESTA leader. And they partner colleges and community-based organizations, and they, as part of like their service initiative, they do a million things. I can't even like talk about how many things they do, but the
Hmm.
team that I worked on, we did anti-poverty projects at colleges. So it would be like economic opportunity. Like, are we going to do like a workforce program? Are we going to give people like their very basic what they need? Like, okay, if you're going to do the workforce program, we're also going to find grants for passes. And so, like, for transit passes and whatever, what I mean? That kind of stuff. Transition from high school to college rates, food pantries on college campuses, housing, like local housing offices that partner with colleges to try and get people to be self-sufficient. So it was a really cool team, and they helped me get on. And I wanted to join, honestly, to form relationships with people and to see who else in my city was doing something about housing. And I thought before I started it was going to be more people who were in industries related to housing.
Okay.
So I, but what I ended up getting out of it was so much of grassroots organizing and
Hmm.
so much of lived experience. And so I think that was really valuable for a lot of the people who were there that were in the industries that were like housing managers or people who did work with like housing security organizations but had no lived experience of that. Meanwhile, I'm
Yeah.
over here like I've been homeless. I get it. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
But I really wanted to meet, like, I wanted a planning department official to be there. I wanted an architect to be there and speaking up. And so I think that my cohort was really dominated by the lived experience stories.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so if I were to do it again, I would love to have like an affinity group that's like, okay, like we are in these places of power. Like, how are we going to then take what we've heard in these
Hmm.
meetings and work
Hmm.
together and
Yeah.
give ownership of what we've learned to those people who are sharing these very vulnerable moments.
Hmm.
And,
Hmm.
so that's what I would have hoped for. But I loved being part of the community in general. Obviously, I especially love the policy piece,
Yeah.
because I feel like, to really get at the root of something, you have to be able to directly influence the systems that are enforceable.
Right.
So
Yeah.
policy is huge. And that's kind of like, I feel like, have you ever heard the parable of the babies in the river?
I haven't, no.
Okay, so there are two women. I'm just gonna say women. I'm gonna be feminist here. And they're
Okay.
walking along a river and they
Hmm.
see babies floating down the river. And they're like, oh my gosh, like these babies, like who's like, what's going on here? And there's one woman that jumps in and she starts pulling the babies out of the river. And the other
Hmm.
woman starts running up and she's like, wait, what are you doing? Aren't you going to help me like get these babies out of the river? And she's like, no, I'm going to see who's throwing the babies in the river.
Mm.
Right? So like my whole life, I feel like I've been trying to pull babies out of the river. And now
Ah,
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm gonna go. Thank you so much. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
see,
Going to
and
the source.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good. I like that. I like hearing that because that makes a lot of sense, right? You can there's people who are going to be doing the picking up of the babies from the river, going to the river,
yeah,
and there's going to be people who are going to go to the source. You kind of need
right.
both, right?
Yeah, you do, you do.
You need both.
Think about like
Um,
an oil spill, right? Like you can't
yeah,
just have the regulator who says you can't do that anymore. You need to have people panning the oil out of the water. So it's like
exactly.
all is
Hmm.
needed. I've
Hmm.
gone through this metamorphosis where I'm like ready to go
Yeah. You
upstream.
you you've already done that. And now you've done that already and you want to kind of move towards something else that's still related to it, right? Still
Yeah,
related to fixing the problem.
yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. Where did you learn that story?
I don't remember. I don't
Yeah.
remember. I wish I did. I don't remember who told me that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Credit to that person.
Yeah, that's a really cool one. I like that a
Yeah.
lot. And so, what advice would you give to folks who are joining the GenUnity
Oh
community?
my gosh.
Yeah,
Just be open, speak up, learn, be ready to learn. Um, I think participation can be both, like we always say, like these cliche things in nonprofit, like take space, make space, and whatever,
right.
like all these community agreements. But really, like, if you say those words and you don't understand what they don't mean anything.
Hmm.
So my biggest one is like, be there, be there.
Yeah.
And if you're open to it, if you're present in the moment, make the time to be present, build relationships with people,
Hmm.
internalize what they're saying, and don't be afraid to share your story and don't feel like, you're taking that away from someone if you speak up. Like something
Hmm.
that you say could be what changes someone else's heart. Or
Yeah.
the time that you're silent could be the moment that someone else has the opportunity, the courage to share their story. So just
Hmm.
try to have discretion with that, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. Were you able to connect with any community partners during that time?
Yeah, so I actually gave a feedback session. I think it was the first one that GenUnity held
Uh-huh.
with one of our partners who came in. She had such a good heart and she was a really sweet person. I think that she was not prepared for what she was walking into. And
Ah.
I think that she thought it was going to be more of like an expository, like, here's my slideshow, this is what I do. And like
Hmm.
the residents tore her apart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, when you're walking into a room with people who have lived the things that you're talking about in sort of an abstract, generalized way,
Hmm.
you have to be ready to be fed to the wolves because they're going to be like, you have no idea actually what it's like. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So, so, um, I got to talk with her and I got to sort of understand like what she was going to take from that experience and like how we could do better as a group. I say we, I am part of Gen Unity, but I'm not an employee,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
sure. Yeah.
And so I think that that was really cool. And there are a few people from the cohort that I still talk to. Um,
Yeah.
I'm working on a digital storytelling project, and I still talk to one of the lived experience participants from I think he was in health equity actually, but he was interested in my project. And so I'm gathering all these short 3 to 5 minute stories from people who have experienced housing
Yeah.
injustice in Boston. And it's really hard for some people to to try and fit sort of like a snapshot moment or like a through line into a story. So I find a lot of joy in empowering people to do that and like learn how to
Yeah.
tell your story, right?
Hmm.
One of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten is learn how to tell your story before others tell a story about you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's very easy as a dropout mother of three that's on my own and like, I'm still broke. You know,
Yeah.
it's very easy for people to make up stories about me, but I
Yeah.
think that giving people a space to share their own story and then having all these different walks of life come together, like you did sort of the formula. You went to college, now you're the head of the planning department in Boston. Like, how do you view housing? And then,
Yeah.
you came here from a different country where you were persecuted for your sexuality and you were homeless for the first 3 years that you were here. How do you view housing in Boston? Like,
Mm.
you're an architect and you have to build housing developments for public housing. How do you feel about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
these different facets of the same issue is like,
Yeah.
how do we keep, how do we make sure that there's no one cold and on the street, no matter what?
Right.
There's
Right.
no reason for that,
No,
So
not at all. No. I appreciate that. Appreciate you saying that. Um, so is this like a project that is public facing or is it?
it will be
Oh,
eventually,
will
yeah.
be.
So,
Okay.
my goal initially was 20 stories. I'm seeing now that with the amount of attention and time that goes into one storyteller, it's not going to be
Hmm.
that many. It's supposed to be a year-long project. It's probably going to be two.
Okay.
Um, so I'm hoping that you asked public facing, I have to stay on track. So like between 10 and 15, I'm hoping for 4 or 5 lived experience storytellers and then one, as I was saying, from all these different areas like
Yeah.
nonprofits and BHA and the planning department, and maybe someone on the city council, like all these
Uh-huh.
different people and to put them together, and then eventually show it to city council and the mayor and
Hmm.
have these public viewings where people can see like we're all talking about the same problem, but it's not, is it? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
like we all define it differently, and how can we actually fix it with all these different definitions? We have to
Right.
find out how that can help us work together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, let us know when it's showing and then we'll
Yeah,
share
yeah,
it.
for
Yeah.
sure. Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
will totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
That'd be
like
so
wrapping
cool.
up my first story now, and so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send that over
Cool.
to the internal team. All right,
Yes,
folks, stay
please.
tuned. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much for your time. It's been really lovely to hear like from the start to where we are now and how it's connected so much. You know what I mean? From
Wow.
starting from, yeah, talking about where you grew up to living in New York and to where you are now. So I really appreciate your time and also your vulnerability and sharing all of this. So
Yeah,
so
for sure.
yeah,
Happy
of
to.
course.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Whitney. So